Hey, yeah, guys from news, back to production. More you say, I'm fed to make a stereo. Hua, diho, sugiza. Hua, diho, subutunzi. Hua,
Hello, welcome to another episode of Let's Get Real with 7 podcast. Today's guest, he's not only my mentor, but he's also the lead pastor of the youth church at Hope of Life International Church. He and I both help run the youth group today. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself, and we're going to kind of just dig a little bit deeper into his life and what he's been through. He actually has a really dope testimony and story because for any of you guys who have watched any of my other recent podcasts, you guys already know that we're part of the Congo genocide. And so the war was between the Hutu and Tutsi, but he was kind of caught in between because not only was he a Hutu, he was also a Tutsi. And so I'm excited to see his perspective and what he had to go through. And without further ado, let me introduce you guys to my guy, Oswald. I'm going to let him say a little bit about himself before we get started. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you. My name is Oswald, as he said. I'm not a pastor yet. I'm the youth leader of the Hope of Life International Church. As he told you, I was born between my mom is Hutu and my dad is Tutsi, so I'm the mixed tribe. And to give you an example, it's like being born in the 50s when the white people and black people did not get along. So yeah.
And you're basically mixed.
I was a mixed one.
Yeah. Man, thank you very much for giving them a brief introduction of who you are. So let's dive in. Let's just get straight to the point here. And could you please tell the audience a little bit of the experience of when did the war start for you guys? Because I know there's different time periods for different wars, like the Rwanda genocide, the Congo. To me, I'm still kind of confused on that because I was really young when that whole war started. So can you please almost take us back to the beginning for you at least, and what was your experience like, and what did you go through?
Thank you. I remember I was in second grade. I was 9 years old, and over there back in my country, you started school late. I started school late, so I was even though I was 9 years old, I was still in second grade. But I remember coming home. My father owned a boutique, a boutique is like a little store. Mm-hmm. So where he sells clothing and shoes and everything. And then that day I came home and we had elected the first Hutu president. The second Hutu president, because they tried to elect a Hutu president before in 1972. Mm-hmm. That did not work out. And then so the first Hutu president was actually in 1993. His name was Pierre Ndadaye. His name was Ndadaye. And I remember his name. I tried to block so much of my memory as a kid because it doesn't benefit me to live in that past. Right. But I do remember his name very well, and I remember how he looked like, because my little brother at that time, he was like 2 years old. He would be like, bye bye, oh yeah, like he would be like celebrating because the president had won. Right. Even though I was mixed, I was taught not to see people different. I did not understand what was different between Hutu and Tutsi. Right. Till this day, I don't see why we hate each other, to be honest. Mm-hmm. When I came home that day, my parents were crying, like they were upset. They were saying, "Oh, they killed the president. There's about to be a war." And a war, I never watch TV. I listen to news here and there. Mm-hmm. When my father was listening to, and they're talking about war, and I'm like, okay, so the war, there's the possibility of us dying, you know. So what are we doing about this? What are we going to do about it? My brother started panicking. My older brother started panicking. With my cousin at the time, she was 16. And then he's like, we need to go to Tanzania. Everybody else was leaving Tanzania. We need to do this. My father's like, because my father was Christian, he was saying that we're not going to go anywhere because we have too many kids. There was only 6 of us at that time. But even then, it was too many to have to carry each one of us to start walking to Tanzania.
So where were you at before Tanzania? So
I was in Burundi.
You're in Burundi. Okay.
Yeah, I was in Burundi. I was born in Ruyigi. I don't know. Ruyigi is like a city. Yeah. Okay. And that's where we were. So Rwanga is a village where I was born in Rwanga. And during that time, I remember because like my mom would cook rice and chicken, and because we were afraid that we were gonna die, people had already walking, protesting on the street, saying we're gonna kill all them people. And then we like the Tutsi people will say we can kill the Hutu people, and the Hutu people say we can kill the Tutsi people, and people will actually kill each other. I did not see people killing each other at that time, but I did see people coming with the machetes, like hitting on our street with machetes, and they will come with a spear and machetes, and then we have guns too. We'd be in the house. Then, like during that night, my father had a lot of lands. We had rice, beans. We had like a lot of lands. We had goats. We had a lot of stuff like a farm. We lived in farm life basically. Even though my dad said stuff at that time, we left everything. Left with the clothes we were wearing and started walking in the middle of the night to Tanzania.
Can I pause you for a second? Because I'm curious. Because for me, I still don't understand. Okay, so the Hutu president got killed, right? And so then they say the war is about to start. But what exactly started this? I wouldn't really call it rivalry, but the dislike for each other. Like, because I don't get why the Hutu and Tutsi didn't really get along in the first place. I've heard a little bit of stories, but could you kind of like summarize it from your understanding on why exactly they didn't get along, if you can?
So, from what I understand about the Burundi history, is that there's 3 tribes in Burundi. There's Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa. So, I spent some time in the past when I was like 21, 22. In my English class, actually, I was researching more about my culture, like where do Hutu come from, where do Tutsi come from? And based on what Google was providing, I kind of learned a little bit more about myself, of who I was. So the Twa, at that time, don't hold me to it, no statistics, I'm not really sure what the statistics are. 14% are the Tutsi tribe, only 14%. And then 84% were the Hutu. So there's majority of Burundi people were Hutu, right? And then the Twa tribe, it was like kind of like an example. It would be like Native Americans, like very small tribe. They keep moving out of the countries, so like nobody really knows exactly how many of them were there, right? Even during that time. But going back to history, goes back all the way to slavery, because in order for me to rob you, I cannot rob you when nothing is distracting you. But if I have somebody come in front and distract you, then I can go around and steal something from you, right? So during the slavery, what they did, and what I mean there was like the Belgium, what they did was they come into the country as white people, like a different people, right? And what they would do is they would educate the Tutsi people, and then have the Tutsi people give them the Burundi gold or whatever else that Burundi was providing at that time. And then on the top of that, the Burundi people will sell the Hutu people. And then the division was created. The division goes way back, but the division was created based on, it was created because that was the easiest way to say, if this person is short and they're chubby, they must be Hutu. They're not good people, they're bad people, right? And then the Tutsi people, they will carry themselves, at least from what I read. I don't know how true it is, but I spent a lot of time researching exactly who I am, so that way I can understand exactly what I need to go, because I was lost in a way. And what I found out was, doing so like they will look at you, if you're skinny, you're tall, you're automatically you're a Tutsi person, like the physique, and that will make you different. So all the way, even in the 90s, the Tutsi people were always the leaders. The king, every single king that lived in Burundi was always Tutsi. So the Hutu people would be carrying a Tutsi king on their shoulders, and then like they would be hitting them, That's a system that was created, kind of like slavery in America. It was a system that was created there by 14% of the people controlling the whole country. So in 1972, the first war that happened in Burundi in 1972, I don't know much about it either. Don't quote me on it. This is based on what I read. 1972 there was more Hutu, and the Tutsi people were getting educated, higher education. The Hutu people, once they get to like high school, they would cut them off. They would make sure that Tutsi people don't pass the test, or they would treat them bad. Hutu people, they will make sure that the Hutu people don't get education, they don't get educated, and whoever passes and become educated, they will make sure they don't get a job. That's how the Tutsi people stayed in power.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So then in 1993, when the first Hutu president was elected, it was a big thing because all the election this time, if there's only 14%, it gets 84%. If everybody fought. How is it that
Okay.
but this person keep on winning, right?
Yeah.
So then finally the Hutu president won, and when he won, everybody was victory. Even for that, for me, I'm mixed, so really I can't support either side.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going against my mom, I can't go against my mom. I
Right.
can't go against my dad either. You know, I'm both, right? So during that time, for me, I was proud of whoever won because I was like, man, this is victory. It's like when we first had Obama as the first president, he was literally like that. Because my little brother, he was a kid, he would be like, Dada, oh yeah, you know, like he'll be raising his hand and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the sign of the people, the president that got killed.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he died, it was a big war. Like that's when everybody started killing everybody.
Right.
They say, make sure nobody escaped, make sure you block the borders, make sure nobody escaped. And then,
Okay, so now we fast forward and you're trying to go from Burundi to Tanzania.
Yeah.
Right? Tanzania? Okay, so now you can pick back up. Sorry, I just want to kind of give people some background information because I didn't even know. I knew it, but I really didn't fully know. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
All right. So we got to Tanzania. So I can't say I grew up very poor in Burundi. We had a family member that lived in a city.
Right.
Who provided us, who helped my father with money. So my father would buy stuff to sell. So for the village where we lived, everybody came to us to buy stuff. So I can't say we were poor. We had enough food. We had enough, you know. I didn't know how, like we didn't have to fight for food basically, right? When we got to the refugee camp the first night, I remember they had like 20 kids and they brought food that has rice and beans. And before, I was a young Christian, you know, trying to pray. By the time the food we hit the floor, the food would be gone. Like they need everybody we take one bite.
Wait. So you go from Burundi to Tanzania to where is this place that you're talking about?
So we got to the border of Tanzania. When we got to so we walked basically from Burundi to Tanzania. I don't know exactly how long it was. I was 9 years old.
You walked?
Yeah, we walked.
Okay.
And some people would carry me when I was tired, like my father's friends, one of the person would carry me.
Mm-hmm.
According to the story that I have heard.
Right.
I do remember though being in Tanzania because I remember the food coming and everybody just take one bite and it was gone right away. So during that time there was a lot of refugees in Tanzania. So they would divide at the border, they would put you in a press, and at this press they would divide you. They would say, okay, you're gonna go if you Hutu, if you guys are Hutu, you can go to one camp. There was few camps for Hutu because there was a lot of them.
Why would they all the Hutus be going to a camp if like?
Well, they were not the only one killing people.
Okay.
They were both being killed. Like the Tutsi people had weapons. They were provided weapons because remember they've been in power for a long time, so they had better weapons than the Hutu did. So even though there were many of them, so even them they had to leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, so what happened was during that time when you get to the refugee camp, what happened was they would tell them, okay, you're gonna go to this camp. If you Hutu, you can go to this camp. If you Tutsi, you can go to this camp. So people that were Tutsi, they went to one camp. People that were Hutu, they went to their own camp. So us that were mixed, we didn't have nowhere to go. So many of the family that was mixed, we ended up going to a place. Well, for me, because we had a family member that lived in Tanzania, that was married to Tanzania. So me and my sister, my dad I don't know how we ended up there, but my dad took us, me and my younger sister, to stay there because they didn't know they were going to make it, where they were going, because they had to walk again, all the way to another city in Tanzania. And then they kept them in a prison. It wasn't like a prison where they did not have access in and out. They could still live in and out. They didn't have guards. But the thing is, it used to be a form of prison. So they would sleep on the cement on the floor with the curtains. And I slept there too. That's how I know what it was. I remember that, but what it was. My brother, one of my brother, he almost died during that time. He was hunger.
Okay.
And there was no food, and the churches were trying to help, but it wasn't enough. And we didn't know, like during that time when they were there for us, me and my sister, I stayed with my uncle at that time, and I did not know if I'm ever going to see them again. We stayed there. I think we stayed there for like 6 to 9 months, I believe. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I know by the time I got to the camp, by the time I got to the place where my parents were, I was already 10. Okay. So we had to stay there for at least 6 months at the place where we were. And there was no phone, so you can't talk to your parents, so you don't know if they're alive or dead. And as a 9-year-old and my 7-year-old sister, like, we didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know where my life was, because literally, why was I born, you know? this is the life I'm gonna live.
Yeah.
So anytime you're afraid that you're gonna be killed, that's it.
Okay, so you go from Burundi to Tanzania for about 6 to 9 months in that with your uncle. You were living with your uncle and your little sister at the time. Okay, then from there, where'd you end up? Where'd you go after that?
So after that, my father rented a bike, borrowed a bike for somebody, and Pastor Augustine, they came to pick us up. He still tells the story better than I do. So they came to pick us up where we were, and then they took us with the bike. The prison basically, they took us there, and then we stayed with them for a few months. I don't know exactly how many months it was, but during this time while we were here, they were trying to determine what they're going to do with us, because now we had a lot more families, not just us. They had a lot more families. So what are we going to do with them? Because the Hutu, they're married to each other, so we can't put them in a Hutu camp. We can't put them in a Tutsi camp either, because they're going to be killed.
Right.
Were in danger. So then they created a camp specifically for people that were mixed, and this one camp was Mukugwa. That's where I lived for 4.5 years, and I came to America.
Okay, so from Burundi to Tanzania for 6 to 9 months, and then from there you go to a place where it's for both the Hutus and the Tutsi and the mixed kids, right? So for there you lived for 4.5 years. What was your experience like from the beginning until the 4.5 year where you ended up leaving and coming to America? What was that 4.5 years? What did that look like for you?
So Mukugwa, when we first got there, it was called Mukugwa. The camp was called Mukugwa. When we first got there, they had guards. So they built one little street, like dirt street, and in front of it they put a fence. And then once they put a fence, they put a fence, and they put guards there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not allowed in, we're not allowed out either. So people, if you want to go to the store, you have to get permission, because some people will go and they won't come back. So even there, refugee camp was still not safe.
Right.
But when we first got there, we had tents. They give us tents. There was no houses.
Right.
They give us tents, and of course they still have animals, snakes, monkeys, and all the other animals were still there.
Yeah.
So it was just a jungle. So my parents, they cut the grass, and then they put the tents there. Then the next day they go, cut trees. They give them some machetes, and they cut trees, and then basically build the hut, the house, we call it at that time. Then afterwards, every Wednesday they will bring the UN, UN and UNICEF, and there was another company, I don't remember what it's called, UNICEF, UN. There was another company that brought medication. So they would come on Wednesdays and bring us food. But the food they bring, it was like beans that's been in storage for many years. So they used to call it Imalingui, because when you cook it, you will cook it for like 3 or 4 hours. And remember, over there you don't have electricity, so when you're cooking it, you really have to get a whole bunch of sticks, wood to actually burn, So it takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the food was nasty, but at that time, whatever it is, that's what you get.
Yeah.
And then, but with time, my parents, they started life basically, because we were not planning to go back to Burundi, because it don't matter who wins. If a Hutu person wins, we never go back. If a Tutsi person wins, we never go back. So either way, whoever wins, we can never go back. So what are we gonna do? And it was funny too, because they started school. At that time, Rwandese people came. There was other people that came too, started coming to the refugee camp. But then they started school. And the school to me was funny, because it's like, why am I going to school? Like, what am I going to school to be educated for?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, I'm never going to go back to Burundi.
Mm-hmm.
This country doesn't want me. The country I was in, Tanzania doesn't want me because I'm a refugee, I'm an outsider. So Rwandese people came because the war in Rwanda happened in 1994. Congolese people, you guys had a war too. So people start coming to the refugee camp, because people that were dealing with the same issue as us, they brought them to the refugee camp. Our refugee camp was kind of peaceful comparing to other ones, but it was still not 100% safe still. So the food, they give you food on Wednesdays, and this is important because there were so many kids. My other sisters were born there, so we finish our food. Typically, it will last us 3 to 4 days, and then the other 3 days we don't have food usually, or the other 2 days we don't have food because of the first time I had breakfast was in America. I didn't know people have breakfast, and lunch, and dinner, and then every other food in between. I didn't know that.
You know about snacks,
Right. So during this time in the refugee camp, One time I remember I was coming from school and I was so hungry, and I saw like it was hot. My feet was burning, so I go under a tree, like for shade. I go under a tree, standing on the grass. My feet is burning. I still remember this. And then I was so hungry. I saw a banana peel. Somebody had eaten a banana and threw the peel away. And I really took that, and that's why I started eating. Like chewing it and start eating it. That's why I started eating. That's how hungry I was.
Can you share with the audience the kind of relationship you had with the other people in the camp? Like, what was that like? Because you guys were all going through the same thing. Was it almost were people united? Were people divided in that camp as well too? What were the interactions like? What did that look like in the camp?
Even in the camp, the more people start coming, the more division we start having. So Rwandese people will consider themselves like we're better than Burundi people. Burundi people will consider themselves we're better than Rwandese people. Mm-hmm. Congolese people came, they're like, oh, we are the best. We have better clothing. Everybody thought there was somebody, but the thing is, it's like everybody being in jail. Yeah. And then somebody coming down. I'm saying, it was kind of like that,
Yeah.
That's how it was. But we had teachers that were both like either Congolese teachers, Rwandese teacher, even Tanzanian teacher that would come and teach us Swahili. Mm-hmm. Because Swahili was one of the main languages that everybody spoke, right. So we can all understand each other. Because like Congolese people we speak Kinyamulenge. I mean, not Kinyamulenge, they would speak Lingala, and they would speak Swahili, but the Swahili did not make sense. But the Swahili was mixed with French. So it was difficult to understand when they spoke Swahili. I don't even know what they call Swahili, to be honest. Just kidding.
Me either.
You did?
I don't know that either.
No. So anyway, it was still division. The one thing is though, over there, like my dad continued. He was always a hard worker. He continued working like digging, like planting stuff. That's why some of the food we get on Wednesdays, he will go sell it so he can get some different food like corn, and then go plant it. And then when he planted, we have next month. Because by the time we start living there for many years, we were going to be there for a long time. So we had to be able to sustain and survive. The only problem is, over there, when you plant stuff, the monkeys will come and eat it. So therefore, after school for us, instead of being home doing our homework, we'll be at the field, running away, chasing after monkeys and stuff.
Man, that is crazy.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so is that all that you remember about that was happening in the camp for those 4 to 5 years?
I mean, there was a lot that happened in the camp, but to be honest, like going back, it's a lot that happened. I can't even go like into details. Mm-hmm. But I do want to share before we came to America. Well, the American government came and they said that because these people can never go back to their country, we can bring them to America. We have a safe place. They start accepting refugees. And then, so they came to a refugee camp and they told us, okay, if you want to apply to go to America, you're welcome to come. And some people want to apply to go to Australia, Canada, and then the Canadian came, like different government came to the refugee camp trying to help with the whole refugee situation. So we were the first ones because my father said that we never can go back to Burundi anyways, because if whoever tribe wins, we're not winning. We're gonna be killed either way. Our life will never be safe, right? So then my father says, let's go. Well, my father went and sign us up, and then they start interviewing us. The problem is we got accepted to come to America. We did all the testing, everything you go through. There's a lot of process to it. But once we got accepted, the people that lived with us in the refugee camp, they say, they're gonna kill you. You're going to America to become slaves. You come to America they're going to kill you and make you soap out of you. Because we had yellow soap that the UN used to give us. Yeah. So people, we say rumors that this soap are made out of humans. It was weird. But anyways, my father says, I don't care what happens. We're going to die either way. If I will never die standing. I'm going to keep moving forward until, if I do die, I'm going to die moving. So that's why we left Burundi, and then I never went back to Burundi. It's been 27 years since I've been to Burundi, and then we came to America, a country where we don't know a different culture, but we had to go through interview process, of course. Yeah. And some of the interview process was like educating us to how America's going to be like. In America, you don't have to worry about somebody telling you Hutu or Tutsi, but you do have to worry that somebody can tell you black or white. That was a battle. They prepared us even before we came to America.
How How did you transition? So after the whole interview process, you guys ended up coming to America. What was the transition like for you guys once you guys got here? What was that like for you?
When we first got here, we went to New York. Got the refugee house go to New York first, and it was the biggest city I ever seen. It was like it wasn't like heaven, to be honest, because I never imagined life like that fast. Like everybody's running fast. The cars, I didn't know it was a bad thing until I started working in the system.
Yeah.
But New York, that was the first place we went, and then we came here. You guys, that's where you guys were living in some apartment on I-17 in Thomas.
Yeah.
And when we came from the airport, Phoenix Airport, we went under the bridge, and I thought that was the coolest thing. Like I'm like, man, this is heaven. So this is how heaven looks like. You know? I really thought it was heaven.
Yeah.
And then we came in December. I think it was December 9th. We came in December, and then in January, New Year's Eve, Americans do the celebration where they do fireworks, and I never heard of fireworks before. So remember where we live on 25th Avenue and 19th Avenue, they have the golf course there, and on Thomas, and that's where they do fireworks. And then we have boom, 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 boom. We thought it was guns going up, so we were all ducking on the ground thinking that somebody's shooting, but nobody prepared us ahead.
Yeah.
Tell us that that's what's gonna happen, you know. But it was crazy. We thought we were gonna die.
It was a short trip.
We died very quick.
Okay, so you come to a whole new country.
Yeah.
You guys don't speak the language.
Yeah.
You guys don't know the culture. You guys don't know anything like the New Year's, the whole fire. That itself is an example of not understanding the culture.
Yeah.
What is your mentality now? Now that you're in this new place, like, what's your mind? What's your thought process now? What's your goal here? What are you trying to accomplish here? Or are you just happy that you're so-called, like, you're free in a sense?
For me, I was never free. I was angry because I was angry because my father left me with my sister Aaron in a place where he left us before, because the refugee camp. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I was angry because I overheard my parents saying a conversation that if they had to leave a kid behind, it was going to be me and my sister again. And then I was mad because I felt like I'm the leftover child. Right. Because I remember as a kid when I was like 8 years old or 9 years old, I remember as a kid, sorry, I have to go all the way back.
Oh, you're good.
They made us plant a seed, and then my sister, my brother, and I, and then their seed grow, mine did not grow. So that was a tradition, the thing they do. Like if your seed doesn't grow, that means you're never going to make it in life. Basically, you're not going to be successful. So then from that point on, your parents can start treating you different. I don't know if they do it intentionally or it's just because I don't know how that was. But for me, I literally felt like I was being treated different from the time they left me there and from the time they were talking about leaving me again. And then even when I came to America, I'm like, my life does not matter. Like, I'm just a number. I felt literally like I was just a number. But when I came to America, a new country, I felt like I have to prove them wrong. So I spent everything from that point on. I have to learn English fast. I have to be the first one to learn English. So I will watch, shows and everything, trying to help myself improve my English and like learn English, like basically because that was always my head. And then when you came to America, there was few things my parents would do, like they go visit somebody and they really take me, and I felt like nobody cared. So I was always angry. I had a really, really bad anger, like from the time I was a kid. Actually, I had anger until I was in my 20s.
Yeah. So do you think experiences like this? So again, we're about to get to the next topic in a sense. Do you think this is also the reason why you started to drink as well too, and the whole suicidal thoughts and attempting to commit suicide? Do you think those experiences are what led to that, and what were you thinking? So that in that moment as well too, when you were going through these thoughts, were you like, man, clearly my life really doesn't matter, so it doesn't even matter if I'm here because no one's gonna even notice. What was that experience like for you?
So at that time, I wanted to feel loved. So I was trying to become popular. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to make friends. I was trying to do things to get attention, as much things as possible to get attention. But the more attention I got it from the people. That's not who I wanted the attention from. The person I wanted attention from was for the people that, like my parents basically, right? So I started drinking because I felt like, even though I grew up like Christian, I grew up in church, I didn't believe in God. So I started drinking because I was like, you know what, these people, they're all here saying hallelujah, 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 but on Saturday they're in the club with me, And then like these parents, they're saying the hallelujah, hallelujah, they're teaching love in church, but they don't come home and show love. Like, what is love? I don't feel love. I don't even know what love is, to be honest, right? So I started drinking. I started drinking my junior year in high school. My junior year, yeah, I started drinking my junior year in high school. By the time I finished high school, I was already an alcoholic. By the time I was 19, but I drink in secret. Like nobody knew, not even my family. They did not know I drank. I moved out as soon as as soon as I graduated high school. I moved out of my parents' house and started my own life. And once I started my own life, then I went on. I drink every single weekend. I graduated high school. Most important part though, in high school, I met a teacher who's still my friend today. She changed my life, and one day I will tell you the story about how she changed my life. But anyways, I was drinking, doing my thing, but I always had a work ethic, so I always worked. I would go to Swami and help people on road stuff. I worked at food city. I worked multiple jobs. But in high school, I did track cross country, ROTC. I did different things just to keep myself busy. Anything to keep me away from home, I did it. That's what I did. But at the same time, I was learning on the inside. Like, even though I grew up with a whole bunch of family, I was still learning on the inside. I didn't feel like anybody cares. Right. That's why my first time trying to end my life, I remember I was 19, and I drank a lot of alcohol with bridge, and it was crazy because I woke up with just a stomach pain. I didn't die. And then I was like, when I woke up, I was like, okay, so why am I still here? Like, because I wanted to see the other side. Like they talk about heaven and hell. Like I really wanted to make sure that, like, is it really heaven? Oh yeah. Like, it was this way. But then I continued drinking. Actually, when I met my wife, I was still drinking. She didn't know. I was lying to her, but I was in the process of quitting. But the funny story is, when I first moved out, because when I lived with my parents, my only responsibility was me. I was doing my own responsibility. Right. So I worked so I can buy my Nikes. I worked so I can buy my Jordans. I worked so I can buy nice clothes so I can try to fit in. I worked so I can buy my first car, right? In high school, I bought my first car when I was in high school. I worked so I can be able to afford all those things. My father was always upset at me because I didn't give him any money. But for me, I didn't feel like I needed to give him any money because I did not ask him for any money. I was basically taking care of myself, right? The crazy thing is, when I moved out of my own apartment the first time, I didn't know that you had to go buy toilet paper. So I thought it was always just there. I didn't know somebody had to go buy it. So I'll go to the store, get milk, and then I forget sugar. And then when I buy sugar, I forgot silverwares. If I buy, so I'll go back and forth. I did like the first month that was so difficult. I spent almost like a month in and out of the store because I didn't know, like, a lot of stuff I saw at home that was natural. I didn't think at that. I don't know why I didn't think that somebody had to go buy that when it's finished. Right. So anyway, that's my moving out experience. So the bottom line is, if you leave home, make sure you listen to your parents.
Okay, so you're going through the struggle of feeling alone and not being loved. Can you kind of share a little bit of your experience, what your relationship was like with your siblings? Like, how was the relationship like there?
My siblings' relationship was very complicated. The reason why is because my brother left when he was, as soon as he can learn how to drive, he learned how to drive first. So he was about 16, 17, dropped out of high school, moved out of the state. Right. So I felt like I was alone because I went to my own school. I went to Central. I went to, in 8th grade, even though I was older, I still started in 8th grade because I didn't speak English. Mm-hmm. Went to Central. In Central, I started getting in trouble because my brother left. I went to Central because my brother was going there. And then when he left, I felt like, okay, that's it. Because even though my brother never claimed me, he was trying to be cool, like, oh, I'm not related to him. He would tell people he's not related to me and everything. My older brother, I still felt like I want him, So I went to that school because I was following him. That's where he was going. Right. So, and my younger siblings, I didn't spend so much time trying to get to know them because they were also dealing with their own, and they were doing school, and they were trying to figure out, like, as a kid, I was trying to fund my life because I was trying to make it without my brother. Because my whole life, even though my brother was always like bullying me and treating me like I don't matter, right? I still felt like I needed him. Like, I felt like he was the most important thing to me in my life. But once he left, I felt like I was empty, like I was done. Who's going to teach me how to drive? Who's going to teach me how to talk in English, like help me improve my English? So I felt like I was lost. So I spent that year getting in trouble at Central High School my freshman year, and forging my dad's signature, and then I transferred myself to North High School. When I went to North High School, I decided to start over, fresh, new friends, new everything. I wanted to start over my life, like everything. That time I wanted to erase. That's why, like some of the stuff that happened to me as a kid in refugee, I forgot a lot of them because really there's some parts of my life I had to block out because when I went to North, I wanted to start over cooperating. When I went to North, I joined ROTC. ROTC was like how they teach you to join the military afterwards, and I had a 100% intention to go to the military because one, nobody cared. I didn't feel like anybody cared here, and two, I felt like I can serve the country better. I can do more. Like I wanted to. There was so much more for the military to offer, and so I spent 3 years learning military stuff. Like they will teach you basic, not military stuff, but they will teach you like the rules and regulation about the military. How to salute, how to wear your uniform, and everything. I like the whole thing, and we did like sports, exercises. They even teach us how to shoot. So we did a few things. But I was preparing myself because after high school I wasn't planning on staying here. I wanted to go as far possible. Basically, live my life alone because I grew up alone. Anyways, I felt like I grew up alone. Why did I need it? I did not need anybody. Basically, so I locked myself from the people.
Okay, I'm about to ask a question.
Yeah.
You do not have to answer the question.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna go back to talking about your relationship with your siblings. There's an individual sibling of yours who, I believe, has passed away, or a sibling that you were close to that. I'm not sure if they passed away or not. But can you talk a little bit about that, how that affected you?
So this is how I'm going to tell it, and then we can start from here. Okay. So as far as my siblings goes, when I moved out of my house, my parents' house, I decided not to connect with them completely. I would talk to some here and there, like my little brothers. I would talk to them here and there, but I never built a relationship with them because I felt like there was something I was chasing. I didn't know what it was exactly. I was still chasing this thing. One of my brothers that went missing in 2017 is missing. He has a wife and a kid that's still here, right? We don't know what happened to him exactly. He was one of I was closest to. He was in trouble in and out, but every time he came out, he always came to my house. He knew he was always welcome. Get food, get shoes. I would buy him some shoes and stuff. We were really, really close. I actually started realizing how my life being away, like locking myself away, it impacted everybody else, like my siblings, even my nieces and my nephews. It actually impacted their life more than I realized. Years later, I realized that. So in 2017, when my brother went missing, it was like a big open eye to me because it was like, this just happened. I was okay knowing that I know where he was. Even when he did get in trouble, whatever, here and there, I was okay knowing where he was. I know exactly where he is. I can call him. I can go visit him. But when they say he's missing completely, you can't call him, you can't find him, that was a different turning point for me. Because then at this time, successful, it became, that's really one of the things that drove me to become super successful beyond for as much as I can, like to become above, beyond success. Like my success level, it changed at that point. Because I felt like if he had a good role model, he would not have went the path that he went into. I truly feel that.
Right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that aspect of it. I know it cannot be easy, but so you've had all these traumatic experiences, right? From growing up, and so you go to nursing school. So and you're almost close to finishing nursing school, and then a path changes for you, right? You end up getting a hernia, and then you decide to go to real estate school. Can you talk a little bit about the path from your nursing? Just summarize nursing school, and then when you get a hernia and decide to make that transition to go to real estate, and then how that has changed your life to today.
So, when I met my wife, I was working at Walmart at that time, and I was like a department manager. I was getting promoted like faster than I was expecting, right? But I decided that I want education because growing up, like I told you, they say I will never make it, and people I care about, they say I will never make it, I will never achieve nothing, right? I told myself that I'm not gonna let myself be promoted again. I'm gonna go find a job where I cannot be promoted. So I went and started working in a hospital because I always wanted to do medical. So I wanted to go work in a hospital. As I want to learn about the medical system. So maybe I can go for nursing or go for whatever degree. I'll go for something. I want to get a degree. My goal was to get a degree, just so I can have a degree to prove to myself that I'm not the loser that they say I was. Right. So I started working at the hospital. And I worked there for about 11 and a half years. I worked there. And once I started working there, I started in transport. Within a few years, I got promoted to like a department manager or something, right? In transport. And I was happy about it, but then I was like, okay, I did not come here for this. I need to get a job that I cannot be promoted, right? So I became a CNA because the only way you can be promoted as a CNA is by becoming a patient care technician, which is the same, but you do a little bit more work to it. And I became that too, right? And then I was like, okay. So this time I cannot be promoted. The only way I can be promoted from this job is literally by getting my nursing license. That's the only way I can be promoted. And I put myself in that position literally because I want a position where I don't want to move up because I already saw my experience working at Walmart. One of the high managers that was making like $50,000 a year, he was there for like, I don't know, 10 years. And then when something happened with the economy, in 2008 when the economy happened, they fired him just like that. And then he had to go start over from the beginning again. And to me, that was like a very big turning point for me because I'm like, that's when I decided that I don't want to ever work a job where I get promoted just to get promoted. I want to work a job where I get promoted because I have an education. Because with education, you have more, there's not more doors that opens for you. So with a wife and kids, we bought a house. And then I started working on my nursing. It took me so many years because they tell you it's a 2-year degree. They lie. That's if you don't have a job. That's if you don't have a job and you don't have anything else. That's why even then it's not 2 years. It still takes 4 years because 2 years is for prerequisite. I was not a good student in high school. Due to when I was a kid in refugee camp, I did not learn very much. I only learned what benefits me now, what they were teaching. So I will learn a language. I will learn basic math. I will not learn history. I will only learn what benefits me at the moment. I will not learn what the teacher is teaching. So when I came to America, I kept the same habits. So in high school, I graduated with everybody else, but I did not learn very much, like as far as like math, as far as like I was behind in everything. So when I went to college for nursing, I had to literally pick up what I left off from high school, but I was literally taking the same stuff I learned in high school, but taking it in college. And then that's why it took me a long time. It took me about 6 years. But in 2017, I was already in nursing school and I was in process. But then I started working out with my friends. Had a hernia, and then once I had a hernia, I had to stop. Once I stopped, I stayed home. But before I had the hernia, I had a friend that was telling me, "Why don't you become an agent? Like you should become a real estate agent." I'm like, "What do they do?" And then she was telling me basically what job they do and everything. And I was like, "You'd be good at it because you're really good with people and you love helping people. I know you want to help. You're going to be a great nurse. There's no doubt about it, but you should look into that." And then once I found out about real estate, when I had a hernia, that's when I went to real estate school. I took real estate classes. And then when I started learning about it, I'm like, man, why didn't I not do this a long time ago? Because they're talking about how they're teaching you how you can buy a house, pay it off, and then sell it again, and you become the bank. If somebody doesn't pay, you can take the house away from that person and then sell it again to another person. I'm like, what? Is this okay? They're like, yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's literally within the law. Right. And I'm like, I'm learning all these laws and everything about like real estate, and I start focusing more. I'm like, I can be more successful than I ever imagined if I actually do this real estate stuff. And then I'm in the class, I can't sit down because I had a hernia, and I'm taking notes standing, I'm taking notes for, it was about a semester. Once I finished, I was like, yeah, I'm not going back to nursing. I told my wife I'm not going back to nursing. She's like, well, what if you don't make it as a real estate agent? And I told her I'm going to make it. And she's like, wow. My wife always believed in me, so she's like, yeah, I support you. Then during that time in 2018, I went to, in March 2018 exactly, I went to take the test. I took it the first time I failed, second time We're not going to talk about how many numbers I took it. But the point that matter is I passed.
You finally got there.
Once I got my license, then the difficult parts began. I wasn't going back to nursing, and I actually didn't want to continue working in the job either, the job I was working. So I decided that I was going to go part-time at my job, and I was going to do real estate full-time. The difficult thing is the person that was training me, I was mimicking them, like copying everything they do. But that's not who I was. So therefore, I could not get clients. I could not get people to trust me the way they trust him because he's been doing it for 15 years, and I just started. So what I did was I started basically doing advertisements in 2018 across 2 houses, and then I decided that by 2019 that it was time for me to quit my job completely, just focus on one job and one job only. And one thing, for the first time in my life, I realized that doing multiple things at once is not working out. But if I just focus on one thing, I'm going to be very successful at it. And that's why I'm here.
All right, so let's take it back a little bit. At one point during this interview, you talked about how you were raised as a Christian, but you didn't believe in God.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people today. Like that's a lot of young adults, especially in our culture and our community.
Yeah.
Because everybody in our community basically were born in church, right? They had the Christian household, but a lot of them don't believe. Can you please talk a little bit about that and why you didn't believe?
So, I don't know if you, for people that watch the commercials, there's difference between what they advertise and what's actually real.
Right.
So, example like the burger, the burger.
Yeah.
When you see the commercial of it and you actually go
Looks
by
so good.
it is so different. It does not look the same at all, right?
Yeah.
So that's how church was to me. Like the God they advertised in front of a church and the God they actually served, it was 2 different people. Because the same people that were preaching here saying, the same people that believe that were preaching here saying, oh, God is love, God is this, they were outside saying, did you see what that person came already? I'm like, wait, you say not to judge in front of a church, now you're judging, he's not judging, telling people what they're wearing and stuff.
Not even 3 minutes
Not
after
even 3
church.
minutes after church, you know? So like I grew up seeing a lot of that. And then I grew up seeing like people that were sing like in the choir, doing like they were not, I mean they profited in front of the people's eyes, but once they go outside they were not, they were doing other things.
Just like us, just like you. Just
right,
like
exactly.
Partying and
then so I thought there was no way that God really loved, there was really God, because if I can do what I want and still live the same life, why do I need God?
Right.
You know? That's why it did not make sense to me to believe in God, to actually believe in God. So 2010, I already had 2 kids at that time. Actually, before I went to church before that, but I actually never believed in God until like 2010. I went to Walmart. I remember I went to Walmart, bought a Bible, and started reading from Genesis all the way to the end of the book, Revelation. But I was reading it just as a book, like a regular book. And I was also reading it because Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormon, even Muslim will come and knock on my door, trying to like tell me who their God is, and I wanted to be able to debate with them, at least like have a debate.
It's funny because a lot of people didn't really care for Jehovah's Witnesses. Like they tried their best to avoid them at all costs, but you were trying to debate with them.
Yeah, I was always debating with them. So like I will read the Bible, and then when they come next week, I will tell them, hey, this verse said like this. Okay, you said there's no Trinity, but then the Bible is saying like this. So which Bible do you want me to believe? Does your Bible say this? Let's go read in your Bible. Okay, well then your Bible is not right. Like we go back and forth and everything, and I like that. I like the debate. I enjoyed the debate. So I became Christian. Once I started reading the Bible more and more of it, I started realizing, man, I need to actually become Christian. I need to believe in this Jesus, because this Jesus they're talking about is not the same they've been teaching. Yeah. It's a different Jesus. And I started searching for this Jesus. And then I joined a church called FCC, Faith Christian Center. And man, the first time I went there, like the lady at the door, hey brother, like she's hugging me and everything. I'm like, lady, we never met before. I have no idea who this lady is, but she's hugging me. The guys are like, hey bro, what's going on? You know, they're hugging me like they know me, you know? Yeah. And then like they go show you what you see. Like it was a VIP experience. I'm not even making this up. Mm-hmm. And then when I got there, like I'm sitting in the back on the corner, you know, and I'm like, man, I'm listening to the pastor. The pastor goes in front, they sing, you know, the songs I have heard in the past, even the songs, you know, because I grew up in church. But like, you know, worshiping. The pastor goes in front and starts preaching. I'm like, I'd never heard somebody preach like this before. This pastor wasn't preaching, he was teaching. And I needed to hear it. because he was speaking about me. The second, I did not repent that day. The second one,
Just to be clear, I still did not.
I did not repent. No.
Yeah.
Second week I went, didn't repent that day either. But when he was preaching, he was talking about, how when he was young, he was clubbing, he wanted for women, everything he was talking about was like, man, that was my life.
Yeah.
But he's like, when I repent, I decided to go one time and never come back. He's like, I'm gonna go repent one time, I'm not coming back. And then when he did it, he started working in a church, volunteering in church, and he started working in the parking lot, and then he went to ministry school, and then he became a pastor. Then they actually moved him to Arizona specifically to start the FCC church. Now the church is like one of the biggest churches we have here in Arizona.
Okay, so that's quite an interesting story because it was almost like you, right?
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
FCC.
Yeah.
You got that experience.
Yeah.
You learned from there.
Yeah.
And it was teaching. I think that's very important. You said he wasn't preaching; he was teaching.
Right.
That's exactly what Jesus did when he came here.
Exactly.
He wasn't preaching.
Yeah.
He was teaching us the way to live, the right way to live, and how to go about our life and how to treat other people.
Yeah.
That's actually I've never thought about it until I heard you say that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And so you get this experience, right? And you're like, man, that guy is actually teaching me how to serve God and be more like Christ and actually live it out.
Yeah.
And then now, let's fast forward. I don't know how much long. I don't know. So you went there in 2010. Well, when did you go to FCC?
I went from there from 2010 until last year.
So last year. So
Actually,
last year.
July. I believe it was July when I came here. Yeah, July last year.
Okay, so July.
Yeah.
And then you come back. You felt called to come back to the African church,
Yeah.
which you told yourself you weren't going to ever do because you were trying to go as far away from the African church as possible.
Yeah.
What happens when you come here?
So the African churches, I literally did hate coming to African churches. Why? Because it was nothing but judgmental. It was nothing but, I did not feel welcomed. I feel judged. As soon as I walked in, not even one person will say hi to you sometimes, if they don't know you. So I felt like I was either judged, and when they say hi to you, it would be like a fake smile, not like, hey, like
FCC.
you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference. So for me, there was the most actually important part about the FCC was men camp.
Okay.
Men camp was like where I kind of found out how a man, because again, how I grew up, I explained to you my life a little bit, but men camp, it taught me how to be a man, like what a man needs and how a man behaves, because for me, I grew up like men don't show emotions, men are hard, you grew up with this mentality, but that was not the case. When I went to men camp, that's not what they were teaching, and I learned a lot from that. But fast forward coming here, I met your mom, and she was inviting me here over and over again. I didn't come. Finally, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go visit this African church. My wife is like, "Are you sure?" I was shocked too. We were both shocked when I said it, and I was like, "Okay, yeah." Anyways, I told my wife, I'm like, "I'm gonna go visit the African church," and she's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I felt the same way."
Right.
Because like she felt the same way too when she came. She felt judged because like the way she dressed, who she is. So it was better for us to just basically keep it to ourselves. And I did for 11 years almost. 11 years. I stayed away from almost all the Africans. I would see a few Africans, but it would be like on events. And that time they wouldn't even invite me to the events, so I wouldn't even go. So I just basically kept to myself, just work, went to school, and just deal with my family. That's it. But when I came here, I sat right behind the pastor. And then I started feeling my heart.
There's a reason behind why you sat right behind the pastor. I think I like the
Yes, so the reason I wanted to sit in the back like everybody else, but the reason why I wanted to sit behind the pastor in front is because people judge you only if they can see you. You feel people judging you only if you turn around and give them the same attention, right? Like if they see you, right? Or when they turn around. But if I was sitting in the front, I wouldn't care who's behind me. Because if I'm sitting in the front, you judging me, you can judge me all you want. It doesn't matter because I'm not giving you my attention. And at this time, I was already learning about the common denominator. So the common denominator of every situation is me. So I get to choose how much you offend me. So you can curse me out, do whatever you want. I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction of letting you get to me, basically. I am the common denominator. So when I came here to sit behind the pastor, I already made up my mind. Even though I didn't like being here, I already made up my mind that judgment or not, I'm still gonna listen to the word, trying to listen to the word as much as I can. But it was difficult. Because when the pastor started preaching, I was struggling because I was like, man, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. I'm listening to the word of God and the way they're preaching, and I'm like, man, this is so different from where I come from,
Yeah.
And then like the following Sunday, I went to FCC again, but my heart, it wasn't receiving there either. It was crazy because when God is guiding you, this is what happens. He doesn't he make you uncomfortable. Like you're not comfortable where you used to be comfortable, you're not comfortable anymore. When I went over there, I felt like I'm not comfortable. I'm not receiving anymore. Like I'm not receiving the word, you know. And then I'm like, man. And then my heart people leading me basically to come back here. Then I called the pastor. I'm like, okay, I want to have a meeting with you. So I went to his office. We had a talk. And then I told him, okay, I want to join your church. This was the third time I came here. I told him, I want to join your church, but I don't want to be just a member. Actually, the first time I called him, he tells me, oh, I know you. You must sing a son. And I'm like, yes, but just because you know my name, and you only know what they told you, and most of the people that told you, they don't even know a little bit about me.
Can you please hit a little bit more on that aspect of it?
So to me, okay, so just because Seth knows me, because I spend a lot of time talking to him, expressing myself of who I am. So he got to know me. He see me in action. He's with me, so he can say, I know Oswald this much. This is how much I know him, right? But anybody, even though you're related to people, they cannot say they know you 100%. Even your own parents, they cannot say they know you because they only know what they saw and what you share with them. But especially like my parents, I was only visiting them once every 6 months on holidays, usually sometime. So if I was not there visiting them all the time, even when I visited, I was only there for a few minutes. So I only share very little. So the thing is, for somebody to say they know you, they don't know nothing about you because you haven't shared anything and they haven't spent time with you, so they don't know you. So I told the pastor, I'm like, you know what they told you, but that's literally the opposite. That's literally not who I am.
Right.
But I am coming to you. I want to have a meeting with you. Give me at least 2 hours. I want to sit down and tell you who I am, and I want to tell you, God's been leading me basically to your church. I don't know what God wanted me to do in your church, but God has been leading me to your church. I didn't even know the name of the church. That's
Okay, so you go have that meeting with the pastor, right?
Right.
And you're saying that you don't even know why you were called to here.
Yep.
Okay, but we fast forward to now, what you begin to feel like your purpose was in this church, and how did you get to that thought process, and what experience did you go through to almost put yourself in, again, the youth leader position?
So when I came here, I remember the pastor that was preaching here. I decided I went to the restroom, and I don't like leaving, especially when I'm sitting in front. Every time I came, I sat in the same chair in front, right next to, not behind the pastor. I didn't want to stand up because if I stand up and go to the bathroom, that means I'm seeing everybody. So the same faces that I felt like it was being judging me, now I can see everybody, and I didn't want that. So but I felt like I need to go to the bathroom, so I go to the bathroom, and I see all the youth, like 90% of the youth outside. Like some of them are running back and forth. Some of them are doing whatever thing they were doing. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, the pastor is preaching in church. Who's preaching out here?
Really, there's someone more important out there.
Yeah, I'm like, are there two gods here? I don't know what's going on here. But then when I came inside, that's how I felt like my heart, it was telling me like, this is it. But because I felt like, because the way I grew up again, I felt like God is leading me because I went to men camp and that's the path. I felt like God's leading me to help the boys, like to start boys camp, boys to men kind of thing. That's what I wanted to do originally. But so I called the pastor, I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you. I actually want to start a boys group where not only am I going to help them to learn about the Word of God, but I'm also going to teach them how to be men, what men supposed to be like. Based on what the little experience I had in men camp, I felt like I was already at that level.
Right.
But I was taking myself too far. But anyways, so that went on for like 2 weeks, but only like 3 or 4 boys would come, 7 boys. Some of the boys would come. The people they didn't even go to this church. There were people I helped buy houses, but the fathers, they got to know me, the parents got to know me, and they would send their kids because they feel like I can help their kids become successful. But my intention wasn't for them to become like me. My intention was for them to be the best them that they can be, each kid, and that was my intention. But the thing is, with kids, you can't do that because, one, they don't trust you, and 2, they're only here because the parents sent them. But within 3 weeks of doing that, I was by myself. I felt God telling me, that's not what I'm calling you. Because that God tell you to do something, and then you're over here, you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing it, like I'm serving God, but your heart is like, nope, you're not serving God. Like you can feel in your heart, even though you're like enjoying yourself, like you're doing something big, in your heart you feel like that's not it, right? And that's how I felt. And then one of the little girl came and asked me, what about girls? Girls wants to be successful too. Why can't we join? And I was like, wow, I don't know. This is only for boys. I don't know. And then I was, were you the leader of it, aren't you? I was like, yeah, I am. Then why can we join? And I was like, man, this kid, you know. But anyway, so during that time, then I decided, I went to talk to the pastor. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a youth group. This youth group is not going to be like any other youth group. We now only going to focus on God's word. Yes, God's word is going to be the primary thing to learn. It's going to be the number one thing we need to learn about, the word of God, and understand why. I wanted these kids to understand, why are you Christian? Are you Christian because your parents are Christian, or are you Christian because you understand what Christ did for you? You understand why you need to follow Christ. That's what I wanted to teach them. But on top of that, I wanted to be able to teach them financial. Basic financial, what I wish that somebody would have told me, what's important about having a credit score. Because some of the kids, even the parents, don't understand the difference between a credit score and a credit card. So I wanted to be able to teach the kids that. Explain to them the difference between investments like stocks, bonds, and all that stuff, because I spend time teaching myself about that, and I invest myself in that kind of stuff, and I have seen how beneficial it has been for me. So I wanted to be able to share that with the kids, because if they can learn that system while they're little, they can achieve a lot more when they get older.
So you and I kind of slowly got to know each other more with this whole youth group situation, because at the same time we were going through this whole, like, I'm not sure if I should be coming back to the African church or what my purpose is here. My heart was also pulling me into the same direction. Like, hey man, you got to go back to the church and help out the youth, because you've experienced it. You know exactly what it's like to feel judged, to feel unwelcome in your own place. My brother-in-law is the pastor of the church. My mom is the one that, like, my mom in the field grew that started the church from my house. And so I didn't even want to be a part of something that my own family was creating. And so, like, I try to run as far away from it. And it's interesting because my heart as well. So at the same time, around you were going through that and coming back to the church, my heart was also being pulled. But I was like, no, God, I'm not going back to that church. Like, there's nothing that. And that's when my faith was also starting to get built, and I was trying to build a relationship with God. But I procrastinated. I was like, I'm not gonna go there and lead anybody. And then one day, someone told me, hey, there's already a youth leader there. And I was like, oh, there's already a leader there. Okay, let me go check it out. And I try to, like, go around and be like, okay, God, I'm listening to you. So I'm gonna ask them if they need any help, and I'm technically helping the youth in some way. And so then I go and I hear your message. I'm like, man, that's really everything that God's placed in my heart. And that's when you and I, well, I told Sandrine, I was like, hey, if you guys need any help, Sandrine told me to give me a phone call. And that's the reason why we're even in this moment. Because actually, I hated you because you made us move from my other house. Yeah. That's when I first met you and I got to know you. I didn't like you, but now God found a way to put us in the same room, and I've only grown from there. So it's God's quite interesting in the way He moved. But let's move on. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You're busy, man. But so you went through all this again. I can't stress this enough, because through all the trauma that you've been through, there's no reason why you should be as happy or as kind or respectful to people that you are. I think a lot of times people use excuses of, man, I've been through this bad thing. It's interesting because I just had another podcast recently, we kind of touched on the same topic. A lot of people use the excuse of, man, I've been through so much, and so that's why I am the way I am. But you chose, in the midst of all that trauma and all that pain, to change it around and make something out of yourself. What's the mentality that goes into doing that? Like, why is it so important for you not to basically live up to what they? Because you could easily be like, all right, well, they don't value me, and so, like, I don't have to do much. Well, what is it that pushed you to be more than what they could have got? And I know you say that's what pushed you, but I think you need a little bit more than just people being negative towards you to want to be successful. You need to want to be successful yourself to even get there. Could you please talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So, like I told you, my siblings, the way I grew up is, I realized that what I was doing and how I was living life was not only affecting me. If it was just about me, then I would not even be here today, to be honest. It was just about me. But then I realized that every single thing, every decision I make and everything I do is going to affect not only my kids, but everybody around me. Mm-hmm. So this is who I decided to be. I decided to become the example where I want to be like him when I grow up. I wanted to be that person. So what makes me that person? Because I grew up feeling like with insecurity, feeling like I'm short. They say I'm dumb, I'm not going to make it. I grew up feeling like that, growing up a little with that feeling, with that feelings. But the more I was doing it, the more I was hurting myself. I was actually injuring myself a little physically, and I was like mentally hurting myself. I was always angry, and I would only smile just so in front of people, but like inside I was hurting, right? But I realized that there's other people living the same life as me. Now I need to be the light. So this is how, I don't know if you notice this with me, it's this like, and I'm literally like that. For me, you cannot hang out with me and stay the same. You either improve or you drop out.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's really the two options with me. I don't know if you have noticed it. Many of the friends everybody I hang out with, they dropped out, and the ones that haven't dropped out, they either becoming successful too, or they're already successful, already successful, and I'm reaching out to them, like also working with them. That's why, like, and that's to me, that's honestly how it needs to be. So, not only for me to be successful, I need to be successful so that way a kid that grew up in a project can say, you know what, he did it, I can do it too.
Right.
You know, I want to be that person, and that's why for me, failure, I became now failure. I fail all the time, but when I fail, it's like, okay, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. I keep trying, training, not trying. I keep training. Then eventually, I become successful. One little success. I celebrate for a moment, then I bounce back and do it again. I celebrate for a moment, do it again. You know, continue. One success at a time. It's like steps I'm taking. One step at a time. Keep going, buying another house, doing this. Like really just keep going, because eventually what I wanna be is I wanna get to the point where I'm like Oprah, you know, everybody gets a car, you know, pay somebody's tuition.
Yeah.
Why not? I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I truly do believe I can do it. So therefore, since I believe I can do it, then I must do it. And my drive, it's not because of, before it was like, I want my father to say I'm proud of you. I bought a house. I want my father to say I'm proud of you. He came to my house, he didn't say I was proud of you. And no matter if instead of saying I was proud of you, I still remember he say, oh, so and so bought a house bigger than yours. I'm like, you know?
Come on, man.
So I was looking for, I'm proud of you, but afterwards I realized, I'm like, I don't need that. For me, I need to do it. Not only for me, I need to do it for the kids that feel the way I felt. Because now I'm not a kid anymore. Mm-hmm. Now I can make a difference. When I came to the youth, when I joined the church, I decided to join the church that I wasn't comfortable in. It was the same thing. It was somebody has to change that culture. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily change it in a bad way. There's some good part about the African culture, but there's also some bad stuff about the African culture. There's some bad stuff about American culture, but there's some good stuff about American culture. Right. We're growing up in America. We cannot be living the same lifestyle that our parents grew up in Africa, and they expected for us to be successful in Africa.
Right. Okay.
That's like. Okay.
No, go ahead.
That's like planting a seed, and instead of watering it, you're putting oil on it. It's not gonna grow.
That's true. That's very true. Okay, so the reasoning behind why you're trying to become successful is no longer about the validation from anybody, or it's more so helping other people. Yeah. And I think that's so important to understand, because I think a lot of people, they want to be successful for them. But the thing is, when you're trying to be successful for yourself, a lot of times if you fail, it's easier to stay down because you're not really fighting for anybody. Because you're already down, and so like you feel pity for yourself if you feel hurt. Can you kind of talk about the importance of understanding failure as not really failure, but as a moment to grow? Because we can use this podcast as an example. We tried to do this like last week, but it failed, and because of the audio, we both could have easily been like, man, like, well, we tried it, it didn't work. But things like this is so important to not only me, but also to you, to share your message and your story, to help other people, because we are called to serve. And people think if they serve, then they don't get money. But I think money comes along with serving as well too, because you meet connections, you meet people, and you get to do other things. Can you talk about the importance of failing and understanding why that's so important and what your journey and what you're going through?
So, my pastor, where I went, he used the word, the difference between training and trying. So a person that's training, they're giving themselves a chance to be successful. Mm-hmm. A person that's trying, they're giving themselves a chance to be successful too, but if they fail, they'll be okay with it. So when somebody's saying, I will try, most likely don't count on it, because there's a chance that they're not going to make it. Right. But if somebody's training to literally be on time every day, they're going to eventually start being on time every day. Mm-hmm. So failure is when you give up and say, I'm done. Because the day you say, I'm done, that's when you fail. Why? Because if you can, Robert Einstein, is he, Albert Einstein, yeah. They say he did, or Thomas Edison, sorry. Thomas Edison, yeah, he did like 1,000 tries. 1,000. Can you imagine doing 1,000 tries for something you don't even know how it's going to look like?
Right.
But today, we tried 3 times. Oh, I tried. It's not going to work out. I did it 3 times. That was my best. You know? So I read books like that, and I listen to motivation and study things like that. To me, because it helps me know that I'm on the right path. Because even though like some people will not say you're doing a good job, I still want to be able to feel myself that I am doing a good job at this. So like our community needs help, like big help. And it's not money. Our community does not need money as help. No, they need education. That's what they need. Because there's no reason why you should be living in a country for 20 years and still be renting.
Yeah.
To me, I saw that as a failure. Why? Especially when 3, 4, 5 people work in the same house, but they cannot put the money together and say, let me buy even a small house. But at least we own some land. Because the benefit of owning a land is, I don't want to talk about my business, but the benefit of owning a land is you increase your net worth. Many people don't talk about net worth. Why? Because they don't live in an environment where they talk about net worth. They're living hourly pay, 9 to 5, Fridays. Let's celebrate on Fridays because we have 2 days off.
Yeah. Okay, so no, but go ahead.
But like that's why. So failing is like when you say the day you say I'm done, that's when you fail. And like quitting, saying that's it, I'm not going to try it again. I'm not going to train. I'm done. I'm not going to try it again.
So basically, you should always be trained.
Right. Because you can spend 20 years in college. You only need to pass one time, and then you get that degree. The degree is not going to say, oh, he spent 20 years in college. It's not going to say that, right?
It's a very valid point.
The doctor, you can become a doctor, right? You can take the test, the medical school doctor to get in 100 times. You only need to pass one time. Once you get in and you pass, you get your doctorate degree. It's not going to say, oh, this guy was a failure. He took 100 times. It doesn't say that.
That's it. That's actually very interesting. So just the last few more questions before we get out of here. Why was it so important to you to come on the show to talk about your story?
One, it's I felt like I should have been one of the first ones after your family to come in and do it, because I felt like I know you as a person, and I saw the path where you were going, and I always believed in you, but I wasn't ready to share my story. But now believing sometimes is not enough. Sometimes you have to support more than just like, I believe you. Yeah, you're doing good, man. I'm behind you, but then you don't share somebody's video.
Right.
Then you don't like a person's thing. That's not really believing, you know?
Right.
Like, that's believing, but really that's not really believing. So I was.
It's almost like, okay, I'm gonna tell you I believe in you, and if you make it, then I was there from the beginning.
Right, I was there.
But if you don't, then I don't have anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it actually 2 weeks ago. I was thinking about it when I told you, and I was like, man, I need to come to your show, man, because the reason why is because, one, I want to continue supporting you, and I know you're going somewhere, because I know you're going somewhere for sure.
Appreciate
and
it.
then two, I am what I am. Many people want to know how to get there, or even go past that.
Right.
For me, my belief for everyone to be successful, because when everybody's successful, then we can change the world. That's literally how you change the world, by everybody becoming successful. When money is no longer the one that's buying your time.
Right.
That's when you know.
Okay. So this is going to be the section. The segment is where I give you the opportunity to talk about your business if you can. I'm not sure if you're allowed to talk about it or not, but it's almost a sense promote yourself. Or tell people where can they find you on Instagram, where can they find you on Facebook, how can they contact you so they can buy a house, sell a house, rent a house, I guess, if they want to, which I feel like that's not what you're trying to teach them how to do.
I don't do rentals, people.
Okay.
Absolutely don't do rentals.
Okay, so come on, this is your time. I want you to tell them about your business and what you do and just how can they get into contact with you.
So you can find me on actually every single website I have, Facebook, Instagram, everything is said the same things. Oswald, AZ Agent, that's it. Basically, you find me under any of that. And then
is there a number? What's your number?
You
what
can
number
call.
Can they contact you on?
You can email me also at the same email, oswaldazagent@gmail.com. You can call me at 602-930-8671. You can text me at the same number, 602-930-8671. And if you're thinking about becoming an agent, or you're thinking about selling, buying, or whatever you want to do, you want to just educate yourself on the process of it, I'd be very happy to sit down with you. I love people that wants to improve their life, and that's why I love my job. So.
Okay, so I think you're dope. So you're almost, I wouldn't really, we can say an anomaly, because the first year you started real estate, you only sold two houses.
Yeah.
And the second year, how much did you sell?
22 houses.
What's your goal now?
But now my goal is 150.
Because
if I can get 150, that's 150 families that's no longer having to be paying somebody else's mortgage. And if you can buy a house, you still need to save for college, because some people say, I don't know how they feel about saving for kids for college, but like if you buy a house, at least the first thing is give them a place to live, give them an environment where the kids can call, this is my home. We're not gonna get kicked out tomorrow. AC is not gonna broke, and we can be like, man, what are we gonna do? Like you can call insurance, like it's easy to fix without having to rely on a apartment manager to come and fix it. I've seen some of these apartments where like some of the refugees live. It's like it's almost as bad as a refugee camp. I hate to say it.
Right.
Like they live in apartments that they control the ACs, and they're only allowed to have one AC on the window, and it's like super hot. And to me, that's like very sad. I go to those houses, and it's very sad to me, because I'm like, man. But so when you see people, and there's be like 2, 3, sometimes 4 people working, and they still live in apartment 1 because somebody told them having a credit card was a bad idea, and 2, they think that they can survive. They can go from, some of them don't even stay in job. They go from job to job because they don't understand the value of staying a long term in a job. At least stay there for 2 years. But what I do is I spend time trying to explain to them, educate them first on how important credit score is. I have a lender that I usually connect them with, and then I can help translate if they need translation. So that way, my dream is at least 150 families to be in their own houses by next year in May.
See, and that's really dope, because like a lot of people would have said, oh man, I want to sell 150 homes so I can have a whole bunch of money so they can get all that. But you're going, the picture is such a bigger picture. Now, are you going to get some money in the process? Yes, you are going to get some money, but the main goal isn't money. The main goal is to help people, educate people, and I think that's what makes you different from a lot of the. And this is why God is like making you as successful as you are, because even during the pandemic, you're still thriving, you're still succeeding. It's not like you had any shortages, and that's the beauty of God, right? So when you're serving and when you're not trying to just get it off of gain, He still provides for you and gives you more than you could ever imagine. And so everybody, I think that's why He's so different. That's what separates you. Because I was going to ask you the question: what separates you from all the other real estate agents? And I think that's the biggest thing. Not only you're trying to help people be a homeowner, you're trying to educate them on how to get better credit score and all that stuff, along with just, here, I'm going to help you buy this house, and then you figure out the rest by yourself. It's more like, okay, this is why you should buy the house, and this is how you continue to make the right payments and all that good stuff. So I think that's really dope. Last question, man. The reasoning behind this podcast is to help motivate people, man. To help people who have been through maybe not even similar stories, but their own traumatic experiences, and they feel like, man, I have nowhere to go, I have nowhere to run to, I have no one to talk to, I feel alone, right? I'm around a big family, I have a lot of friends, I have girlfriends, I have all these things, but yet I still feel alone. What is it, something that you would say to them to motivate them to be like, hey man, as long as you wake up the next morning, you still have an opportunity to be what God has called you to be. If you could summarize it in the simplest form, what would you tell me?
So I believe that God is giving us opportunity. He give us 24 hours. He doesn't show anybody as far as time goes, right? And for as long as you're breathing in and out, because God can take your breath away. He can literally, like, you can die anytime, right? But for as long as He's still giving you breath in and out, there's something you have to. Everybody was born here for a purpose. There's something you have to achieve on this earth. So honestly, you are not alone. Like, find some help. There's people that can help you out there. Seek friends. Now, friends that's gonna tell you the truth. Most important, friends that want you to be successful. Friends that want you to get somewhere. Not friends that want to keep you where they are, so that way they can still feel like they're higher than you. But friends that want you to be actually not only like them, but be better than them. Seek those kind of friends. And then most important, beyond everything else, seek God, man. Seek God. Like, you gotta seek God.
Right. And this is coming from someone who didn't believe. Like,
Right.
I think that's the beauty of all. Like, I think in everybody, however you want to put it, everyone has that sense of like there's a higher power, right? There's someone bigger than anything. Now, some people believe in a different higher power, and again, I'm not judging. I'm not taking away from them. All I know is I know the God that I serve, and I know what He's done for me. And so it's so dope because I want to say like I wasn't always as faith-filled as I am now, and so just this journey that I've seen so far, and how passionate you are about God, and how you tell me that you used to not believe, I wouldn't be able to believe you because now you're mentoring me in my spiritual walk. Not only that, but my just worldly walk and just how to be a better human being and how to be successful. You always tell me what you just said. If I am just as successful as you, then you fail. Or I failed and you failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you failed as well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's why you need friends that are trying to bring you higher instead of keep you, like you said, in the same position so they can go higher.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, last words, last comments, anything else you want to share before we get out of here, man? No.
The last words are very big, God bless you, and your show continue on
I appreciate it,
for
man.
many years to come.
Hey, I appreciate you for coming on the show. I know it wasn't, a lot of the stuff weren't easy, man, but I'm grateful and I'm thankful. Everybody, first and foremost, like, I would like for you guys to take a moment right now to look at this. Like, you wouldn't be able to sit here and understand his story. You wouldn't be able to sit here and know what he's been through. And a lot of times we go through life judging people. We use the example of the Black Panther actor Chadwick. He was going through cancer, and nobody really knew about that, or at least the public didn't know about that. He was dealing with it with himself and his family, and yet people were still talking about him and making fun of him. And then they come to find out that he was sick and fighting this disease. And so you have to be careful what you say to people and how you treat them, because you truly don't know what they're going through, or what they've been through. Before you just look at them and say, "Oh, look at that person. This is how they are." First, get to know them. We're missing that in the world, and so I hope that you guys see my boy Oswald here and like, man, like, one, I would have never, looking at him firsthand, I wouldn't have thought he'd been through that. So learn how to treat other people with respect and kindness at first sight instead of judgment. And I think this world will start becoming a better place because of that. But as always, man, I want to tell you, God loves you. I love you. God bless and stay safe. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Peace.
Right.
Hey, what's up, y'all? If y'all stayed and watched the entire video, clearly you're intrigued in the content. If you haven't already, I would love for you guys to subscribe, like, share, comment below. I would love to get engaged with you guys, what you guys like, what you guys didn't like. Hey, but as always, man, I want to remind you guys, God loves you. I love you. God bless and stay safe. Thank y'all. Love y'all.
Hey, yeah, God's from News, Box Production.